Welcome back, folks. It is 5:08 on this terrific Tuesday evening. I'm Josephine Sage. Let's jump right into the forecast right now as we take a look outside at America's Mattress Live Tower Cam. We've got these beautiful blue, clear, sunny skies, and that's going to continue with us throughout these evening hours and essentially for the rest of the work week. Now, as we take a look at these weather headlines, we're going to notice our temperatures are actually a few degrees above those seasonal averages only in the afternoon hours as we get closer and closer to the middle of the work week. Those evening hours are looking at cooler temperatures, even down in those low to mid 50s for the majority of the Grand Valley. We're also expecting an upper level low moving on in from the Pacific Northwest. We're going to continue to watch that as it moves on in because it's going to bring a little bit of some unsettled weather. Now, I don't mean rain, I don't mean thunderstorms, I just mean a little bit of some higher wind speeds in that mid-level atmosphere. So those wind speeds are going to reach just about 20 to maybe even 25 miles an hour. And keep that in mind because in some areas we are getting into a thicker of a drought right now. Montrose is in that severe zone. Some of Grand Junction areas in that moderate zone, and those surrounding areas just in that dry zone. But as we look further towards that Four Corners region and over Alamosa, we're also pushing to be in that severe zone. So with that in mind, with those higher wind speeds, this dry air, this sunshine, and that drought, wildfire safety, folks, I mentioned it yesterday. I'm going to continue to mention it all week this week. Don't leave those campfires unattended. Adhere to those burn bans and those warnings. Properly discard of those cigarettes. Keep vehicles and power tools off that dry vegetation and obey orders from local law officials when applicable. And as we take a look ahead, we're going to notice this high pressure ridge is amplifying essentially even up into Canada, but it's quickly going to get pushed out as we look into Wednesday as it moves across those plains and that Pacific Northwest low gets closer and closer to us to cause that unsettling in the upper atmosphere. And right now, those temperatures are definitely still on that warmer side of things. 83 degrees in Grand Junction, 80 in Montrose, feeling 86 in Delta, and a nice 85 in Moab. Now, those mountainous regions at a little bit of a higher elevation are hanging out in those mid to upper 70s along that I-70 corridor and further south. And our almanac will show us that we are indeed pushing just about 8 degrees above that seasonal average for that afternoon high today. 85 instead of that typical 77, that low end of things. 49 instead of that typical 48. And as we take a look at those wind speeds right now, pretty mild, 7 miles an hour in Grand Junction, 11 miles an hour in Moab, 9 miles an hour in Montrose. But as we look along that I-70 corridor, they are starting to pick up this evening. 17 miles an hour in Rifle, 15 miles an hour in Glenwood Springs. And in the last 12 hours, we're looking at 18 miles an hour in Grand Junction, 28 even in Rifle. And as we look into tomorrow, those are going to pick up to be 20, 25, and along that I-70 corridor, maybe even 30 miles an hour. Tonight, we're going to get down to that cooler side of things, 53 in Grand Junction, 48 in Montrose, and along that I-70 corridor, feeling in those mid to upper 40s, and those mountainous regions are getting closer and closer to those sub-freezing ranges. The extended forecast will show us pushing into those upper 80s as we look into Thursday, and Friday, that slow decrease is actually headed our way, even towards the end of the weekend and the early work week as those temperatures decrease for the first week of October. Those cool autumn temperatures are here to stay with a slight chance of precipitation, even for Montrose, getting very, very close to that time of year where we start hanging around in those 60s.